Hello and welcome to the podcast, Get Rich Without Being a Bitch. And I'm Vanessa Shaw, your host for this journey that we're going to be taking on. Listen, I feel like we're going to be covering some really important topics, especially if you are a woman in business, you want to create wealth on your own terms, and you want to live richly without burning out. In this podcast, I'm going to be sharing topics, strategies, mindset changes that are going to help you shatter glass ceilings, challenge stereotypes, and frankly, be the best version of you so that you can define life and live it on your terms. Welcome. Please make sure you hit subscribe so you don't miss any episodes. Hey superstars, welcome back to another episode with Get Rich Without Being a Bitch. I am really excited today to talk to you about an important topic. One of the places I see women holding themselves back is around getting the support that they need to get ahead. They're just trying to do too much by themselves. And honestly, we see a lot of resistance around this as well. So this might be resonating for you. And I want to dive in today and let's unpack this topic. Let's look at some very practical ways that you could get some help and overcome that resistance. And also look at, frankly, what this could be costing you, right? Costing you financially, spiritually to get to your goals, and probably emotionally. So I want to dive into this topic, all about getting help. I know for myself, right? I'm going to often start with my own stories. I know that back when I first started out in business, I was used to doing everything for myself. I thought that I had to do it all. I actually felt like that was what success looked like. And if I was admitting that I needed help, it was almost like a sign of weakness. Now, fortunately, early on in my business, I realized that I just didn't have enough hours in the day to get everything that I needed to do in my business done if I didn't get any help. Because back then, I had 2 young kids. And I remember I'd been a stay-at-home mom. Now I was training as a life coach. I got into peak performance coaching and executive coaching. And as that started to grow, there was no way that I could be doing it all. So one of the very first places that I got help wasn't in my business, right? It was actually getting help in the home. I worked out that it simply wasn't worth my time to be trying to get my business off the ground, doing all the things for family, the kids, the cooking, the housework, all of those things. And then, having no time left over for myself. So for me, it became cheaper, frankly. It was a wise economic decision to actually invest in getting some help in the home. It meant then back then as well that the time I was having with kids and family was quality time, right? I'm not completely stressed out. So I actually had energy to still read the kids' bedtime stories or, cook evening meals, right? To this day, I still love cooking. It's one of the things I actually find very relaxing, kind of creative and a little bit therapeutic. So I wasn't giving up everything, but it was that place of saying, okay, where do I need some help? Where does it most make sense? And for me, starting out, it actually wasn't in the business. Now, what I hear, right, that's kind of my story. And then I'm going to get into the other areas of help that I've since had in the business. But what I hear from women so often is, it's so much easier for me to do it all myself. Oh my gosh, no, I'm a control freak. There is no way I could outsource that. There is no way that I would have somebody else cleaning my home. It only takes me, enter the time, 3 hours, 30 minutes, 5 minutes, whatever it is, right? And there's a lot of resistance that comes up. Behind the scenes, I also do hear those conversations and questions that also come up around, well, don't I need to get my act together? Don't I need to be better organized in order to get help? So let's go back even into the home one, for example. I need to have my house completely tidied up and running smoothly before I let somebody else into it and they see kind of what it's really like. It's a home. Homes are there to be lived in. Mine gets messy. I've got dogs now, empty nesters, kids they're not around so much. But the reality is homes are for living in, right? And they do get messy. And they need cleaning, and that's why we need help. But we also see it in the business as well. Well, I need to put systems in place first. I'm not that organized. I need to learn what it is I need to do first. I need to build the skill set so that I can delegate to somebody else. And I want you to hear These stories that you tell yourselves, they are parts of resistance that will keep you stuck, right? And they are also things that are going to have you working way, way, way too many hours, not getting ahead in the way that you want to, and frankly, getting resentful and possibly even a little bitchy at times, right? I certainly know if I have to take on all of those things, I don't end up liking the version of me that starts to show up because I start to get so depleted. So, how to break through this resistance? Now, one of the things that we have been doing with our women clients that we work with is starting to actually put dollar amounts to their time. And I would really encourage you to do the same. It's like, let's, instead of getting into those stories, let's start to see what's it really costing me and how could I use that time and energy more effectively? So here's the very, very simple way to do this, right? And don't overcomplicate it. I want to give you kind of like a little simple formula. Let's imagine that you are running a business that is generating $200,000 in revenue. And you are, as most of our clients are right now, you are the one that is responsible for business development, bringing in the business, right? You don't have sales teams that are working for you. So you're kind of like the chief revenue officer in your business. So top line, right? 200,000. And now what I want you to do is to ask yourself, how many hours a week are you typically working, right, in your business? How many hours a week? And again, be honest. I know women sometimes tend to minimize this, but you've got to be honest, right? If it's 50 hours, it's 50 hours. If it's less, it's less. If it's more, it's more, right? Some of my women will laugh at me when I say this and like, 50 hours, Vanessa, like that's the goal. If I were only doing 50 hours, that would feel good right now. So whatever it is, your starting point, the amount of weeks you actually work. So if you know full well that you typically take off 2 solid weeks, for example, you're going to now multiply your weekly hours by 50 weeks that you're actually working. And now you are going to take, right? So it's going to give you the amount of hours that you work across a 12-month period. And now you're going to take that top line revenue, so the 200,000, and you are going to divide that by the amount of hours you work in a year. And what this does is it basically will show you the value of your time per hour. Now, this is really, really interesting because we have gone through this exercise so many times with our clients. We go through it periodically because ideally we want the value of your time increasing, right? So that you're ideally working less hours and the value of each hour is actually going up. So it's not been uncommon for us to have some of our, let's say, our high 6-figure and 7-figure earners, when they do that calculation, they're like, wow, my time is pretty much worth $1,000 an hour, $1,200 an hour, even $1,500 an hour. And it's also not uncommon for other people to be completely on the other end of the spectrum. Oh my gosh, I am working so many hours that in fact, my time right now on paper looks like it's worth $75 an hour. And again, both are okay. This is just a starting place. But here's what I want you to then do with this. All of those places where you are resisting getting help. And again, let's take my initial example. Let's say help in the home. If your time is worth, and again, I'm going to go with simple math today so I can remember the numbers myself. But let's imagine you land on $100 an hour that your time is worth. The chances are you can probably hire somebody to help you in the home for about $25. Right? You're actually going to save $75 because you doing that and taking it out of your time and energy, it's potentially costing you, right, $100. That's what your time is worth. And yet here you are, you could outsource it for $25. There are also going to be plenty of tasks in your business that you could be outsourcing to somebody else. Typically, I'll give you the examples of things to be looking at, but a lot of admin tasks, right? Things that there's other people that could do probably better than you as well. They'll probably do them more efficiently, more effectively, quicker as well. Possibly even to a higher standard because it's the sort of things that they love to do. There are things that you are doing right now, like possibly scheduling client appointments, doing payments, answering emails, right? These backwards and forwards. Sometimes it's sending documents to clients that they need to sign off on, or it can be things like we love to do touch points, what we call touch points, and little surprise and delights with our clients. So it could be some flowers, some surprises here and there, sending out cards to people. Again, these are all the sorts of things that we can outsource for considerably less than it takes for you to do it yourself. And that's how I want you to start to think about this. Like really put that dollar amount so that you can see where you are putting your time and energy in tasks that are way beneath your pay grade and that you could be handing off to somebody else. That's the starting place. I also want you to think about what's it costing you energetically. I know there are a lot of things that you might say, it's only 5 minutes. It's so much quicker for me to do it myself. I have had clients say things like, but I like doing those things. And some of that liking doing those things is because they're comfortable and you are actually avoiding doing the work that is required to grow your business, right? To get ahead, to get rich and actually be living that lifestyle that you want to be living. So we now use some of these other tasks as avoidance strategies. And again, they're costing you. But I would encourage you to look through the energetic lens at this of how is it making you feel to keep having to do these things? Are you getting annoyed, frustrated? Does it feel like it's slowing you down? Is it adding to the overwhelm? I certainly know for me, when I have a lot of details going on and my, to-do lists are just getting big, but typically with a lot of like little pernickety details, it's not that I can't do those things. It's not that I'm actually bad at doing those things either. I'm actually pretty good at doing those things. But after a while, they drain my energy and they take away from the more creative things that I really should be doing to advance the business. The things that only I can do that, again, are representative more of that hourly rate. So I hope this is helping to just, bring up a couple of things where you can start to look at where can you get help. Now, I still want to break this down further because there are always some other things that come up around this, right? Again, valid questions, possibly some resistance. The whole it's quicker to do it myself. Let's just go there because I hear that from so many women. It's quicker to do it myself. Yes, it might be quicker to do it yourself right now, but that also means that you are signing up to do it forever. Remember that. It's not just this one time. So that calendaring, that billing, those little things that you're doing, yes, quicker to do it now, but do you want to keep doing it forever? Because until you get it off your plate, it is yours and you will be doing it forever. So think about that. Also, the handoff. When we start to train somebody new, we've got to train people in our standards. Let's imagine it's the house, right? That was that place that I started. It was really important for me to communicate what were my standards of how I like my house to be cleaned and organized so that somebody else can take that on and be able to do it in the way that is going to make me feel really good, right? And joyful and so good about, frankly, handing it off. So we have to be clear on those expectations, those standards, be prepared to have some training that just goes backwards and forwards to adjust so that people can really understand how to help you. And again, on that note, I truly believe that most people want to do a good job. There are so many people that want to help. They want to serve you. They want to see you happier. They'd be delighted, right, that you've got a part of your business that's functioning more efficiently because they're in it. They want to do a good job. And oftentimes we've got too busy and stretched and stressed that we are not giving them the instructions, right, or the training. Because I like to think about this, that, once it's off my plate and somebody else is off to speed, the chances are I never, ever have to think about it again. So really think about that through that long-term lens. Getting rich is not about quick fixes. It's about, how do we start to set up some of these systems for the future? Some of those other places, again, mind your language, right? Be mindful of the words you're using. I will never outsource this. I always have to. I'm a control freak. Any of that language that I hear a lot, are the places that you are now putting limitations on yourself. And you're kind of just closing the door there and not being open to doing it another way. Now, I'll give you another one of my hacks. I hope these are helpful. And by the way, I would love it if this is resonating for you. I would love it if you can hop on your favorite podcast platforms and leave a review. Don't hesitate to write into me as well. You can always drop me an email, vanessa@businessgrowthacademy.com. Let me know what was resonating. Let me know what some of your quick tips and hacks are. I love to keep these conversations going. So coming back to I actually think it's one of my most brilliant hacks that I've taken on in the past few years. It was about noticing some of those things that really drain my energy. And grocery shopping really drains my energy. After a while, to have to go to get in my car, to schlep around the grocery store, to, be with a lot of people, possibly if I'm tired, whatever it is, to put it all in a cart, to pack it up in my car, to drive it home, only to unpack it all again for me, it takes a good bunch of hours and a lot of time, and I find it very draining. And then there's my whole thing of typically one of my routines is I like to kind of clean down the refrigerator, wipe things out every week so that I'm actually putting things in freshly. So I've kind of got that going on as well, right? That's my thing. So a few years ago, I decided that I was going to get into online shopping and I was going to pay a membership fee. I actually use Instacart, so I'm going to give them a shout out. I think it cost me something like $99 a year for the membership. And with that, I get free deliveries as long as I spend over $35. Well, spending over $35, let's face it, is really not hard. And I get it delivered to my front door in the timeline that I want it, the time that's convenient for me. I don't have to do any of that schlepping. I don't have to do any of the packing and unpacking in my car piece. The only piece I have to do is now in my house, of course, is unpack it in my refrigerator. And by the way, I've had plenty of time to quickly clean out the fridge, chuck out anything that is not looking so good, and be ready for that to happen. To put in my order, I've probably got that down to 10, 15 minutes at max. And that's only if I'm like making all fancy new things. So I need to be a little bit more creative. That's the maximum amount of time it takes me. Here's the other thing. I have saved money because I'm actually not getting distracted going around the supermarket. I would do oh my gosh, that looks good. Oh, I could do this and buy too much. So it was actually costing me money. And the other piece around this, some of my girlfriends, I've chatted with them about it, even clients, they're like, no, I like to pick things out myself. Here's the thing. I've typically got my shopper on an app and they're asking me questions. So it can even be interactive. Again, it's back to we can give feedback, right? We can share those expectations. And honestly, in all the years I have been doing this, if I have had to return, a couple of products, which basically means going online and quickly saying that they weren't satisfactory, I've never had an issue with them being reimbursed. And it's been as quick as anything. So I share that as like one of those things, like we have to do this, especially as women, if we are running our businesses, if we've got kids, if we're looking after possibly elderly parents, aging parents, taking care of people. This is something that we have to do on such a regular basis. And it's costing time and money every single time we do it. And we have so many other solutions. So that is one of the ones I absolutely love in my personal life. And let's also go back to in your business. Now, this is definitely something for me to unpack further in another podcast because it really comes up a lot around hiring help. But I want to give you again more of the kind of the quick hack to this. And this is the idea here is you don't have to hire full-time help. You don't even have to have somebody that is in your office, right? There are so many solutions now for hiring virtual assistants. And whether that is offshore, let's say out of your country, I know there's people typically listening in. Now we've got some worldwide listeners, but we do have Canada, the US, we have some European listeners as well. So sometimes we could be hiring VAs, virtual assistants, out of the Philippines, right? Or out of India, right? Different countries. They're on different time zones. And by the way, many of those assistants will actually work on your time zone as well, because they really want that work and they want to be able to do a great job for you. And they, again, be there of service. Equally so, there are many companies that have virtual assistants inside your own countries. And these are places where you can start with as little as 10 hours a week. I honestly wouldn't recommend less than that because we just don't get into flow. So after I had my house taken care of, that was my very next hire. Now, I did a few of these things before they were popular. The term virtual assistant really didn't exist when I did it. I'm talking back in about 2004. 2005, I think it was, when I first hired a virtual assistant. I never met her. We didn't have Zoom. I don't think we were even using Skype back then. So it was phone calls to offload things. And it was some of those repetitive tasks that she could take care of. And again, it was outsourced for 10 hours a week. And that is how I got started. So I just encourage you here to be more open-minded about all of the different places that you can actually get help and get assistance, whether it's in your personal life, in your business, probably it's both as well. And think about the value, the real value and worth of your hours, depending on the level of business you're in. And that every time that you are doing something that is beneath your pay grades, right, it's costing you. And you could so easily outsource it. So I hope that's given you some food for thought today. It is a really, really important topic in terms of getting ahead, getting rich without being a bitch, really enjoying the process, and frankly, being able to have a much bigger impact in the world, doing the work that you love with the people that you love working with, and frankly, making a bigger contribution to the world around you. So please let me know what's resonating today on this podcast. Leave a review. It's really helping us to reach more women, and share this podcast with your other women friends who are in business. We want to spread the word. We want to share valuable information because these are very important topics for women. I can't wait to catch you on the next one.